talk about systemic change, my mind goes immediately to the 2024 presidential election. So, Nicole, can you break down what we're seeing out of each campaign, both Vice President Harris and former President Trump? Does either candidate have a set of policies that specifically serves student parents and this constituency?
Well, we're definitely looking at the Harris-Walz campaign, and we're really excited by some of the things that we've already seen Vice President Harris be a champion of during her time in the Biden-Harris administration, looking at her championing childcare affordability, for example, free college, student loan forgiveness. Those are things that are critical for the student parent population. We know that student parents are more likely to be low income, so they are more likely to take out student loans. At the center of the student loan crisis in this country are student parents, particularly Black mothers. They have the highest amounts of student loan debt of any other student. And so, efforts that we've seen coming out of the Biden-Harris administration, we're hoping that those continue in a Biden-Walz ticket and administration. We also have seen Governor Walz champion initiatives that benefit student parents in the state of Minnesota, really looking at grant programs for colleges across the state to invest in programming that's tailored to this population, that helps colleges and universities specifically support them in getting their post-secondary credential. And childcare affordability. We know that student parents are shouldering, like so many parents across the country, just incredible costs around childcare for their children. And if you can't get childcare, you can't go to class. We talk about childcare so much as it relates to workforce. But there's also a big piece of this where if you're a mother or father, you want to get a post-secondary credential, you're not going to be able to do that if you can't get affordable and quality childcare for your children. So those are some things that we've already seen both Vice President Harris and Governor Walz championing, and we're really excited about the prospect of that continuing. In the Trump administration, we definitely saw some things that were both working against student parents, but also some things that were beneficial. For example, a federal grant program called C Campus, which provides colleges and universities with funding to be able to stand up childcare solutions either on their campus or nearby their campus. That funding was increased under the Trump administration, so that was definitely a good thing. A lot of more work to do there, but definitely a good thing. But we're also seeing things that are troubling as we're talking about what could come from a Trump administration, which is dismantling the Department of Education. The Department of Education provides such critical programming and support to millions of college students across the country, particularly marginalized students and particularly student parents. The C Campus program is a great example of a program coming out of the Department of Education that is critical for this population.
Fascinating. So it's almost, is he contradicting himself? Because if under his administration, the funding for that program increased, but yet his campaign promises in 2024 feel a little bit different. Would you agree?
Well, I think there's many contradictions, right? I mean, we've seen at the same time that we saw that funding increase, we also have seen attacks on DEI programming. This population is disproportionately students of color. And so when we're talking about getting rid of or dismantling equity programs at colleges and universities or at federal agencies, I mean, that's an example of an initiative or a policy that is really working against what we're trying to create. We want more equity in our systems, particularly in higher education. There's no doubt that we have significant gaps and disparities across the board in higher education. So while there have been gains, there certainly have been things that have worked against what we're trying to make sure is happening for this population.